3DB Melbourne, 3LK Central Victoria, the Herald Sun stations.
It was the happiest place to work in. I never ever thought about how much I was getting paid. I never ever thought how long I was working. I was just so happy to be with people like John Stewart, Dick Cranbourne, Maury Kellard, Jeff McCombs.
The basic thing about this station was it was a very happy station to work at.
I learnt an awful lot. I met a lot of very, very interesting people during my time there, and I don't think I shall ever forget it.
Well, I found it was a family when I got to 3DB. You know, everybody knew everybody well, and the manager, Dave Wall, he wanted to know everything, right down to when your wife was pregnant or anything, the moment she became pregnant and the whole lot. It was a real family here at DB, and I think that was one of the reasons it was top station at the time.
But it was a wonderful atmosphere in which to work. You know, we were successful, we were acknowledged to be successful, and it's rather nice to go somewhere and be recognised as somebody from 3DB. We were awfully proud.
The listener felt that they were included and they were part of the station. And it was a station they couldn't afford not to listen to.
A station you couldn't afford not to listen to, and a friendly place to work. That's the foundation stone and the cornerstone of a pioneer broadcasting station that on the 21st of February 1987 celebrated its diamond anniversary. And this is the story of its beginnings, its successes, its bad times, its shows, and its stars. Welcome to 3DB, the first 60 years. A 60th birthday is always very special, and whether it's a person or a place, it's a good time to look back, to reminisce about things past, and to look to the future. 60 years ago, radio, or wireless as it was known then, was as new and as mysterious as television was to people generations later. Why it was called wireless, I'll never know, because the earliest radios had the most complicated mess of wiring the world has ever seen. To enjoy this relatively newfangled medium in 1927, you were required to fiddle with that mysterious cat's whisker on a crystal set, or battle with the demands of wet and dry cell batteries. When 3DB was born in 1927, Australia had a world war behind it. And even in this peacetime, there was an uneasy feeling another global squabble was not too far away. And indeed, World War II was waiting only 12 years hence. But before doom and gloom hit again and this great country was at war once more, life wasn't too bad in Aussie land. In Melbourne in 1927, you could buy a bottle of beer for less than 10 cents. A meat pie was 3 cents, and your daily newspaper came home delivered for less than 2 cents. Conversely, the newfangled wirelesses were not cheap. You had to pay up to $180 for a 6-valve heterodyne receiver. Now, don't ask me what that means, but I do know it was the best receiver around, but was so expensive, the then Prime Minister, Mr. Scullin, appealed for a cheaper set, and Astor came out with a Baby Electric for $23. In 1927, 320,000 homes in Australia had radio sets. And for that honour, you had to pay the government a licence fee of $2.40 per year. But the young 3DB received none of that. Wireless was a lot of fun. Everyone at the station was having a wonderful time. But the small staff had to be paid, and bills had to be met. So 3DB invented something which has stood the test of time in all sorts of guises. You can blame 3DB for discovering the commercial. In late 1927, 3DB broadcast the first commercial heard on Melbourne radio.
Ladies, for all your pharmaceutical requirements, you are invited to call at the G. Stoddard Dispensary, located at 117 Collins Street, Melbourne. They are stockists of the very best and most prestigious perfumes and toiletries available in Great Britain today. the experienced assistants and Mr. Stoddard personally hope you will avail yourself of their expertise and advice.
So now you know where the Hal Todds and the Uncle Dougs of this world came from. In those years, sponsors were few and far between, and yet those wages and bills still had to be paid. Mr. Edgar Sayer, who was given our first broadcasting license at DB, knew there was an audience out there, but found it very hard to convince the storekeepers and the tradesmen of the era, even though they could see for themselves that those people who couldn't afford radio sets, or wireless sets, sat out in places like Chapel Street, Paran, and Smith Street, Collingwood, listening to wireless sets outside electrical stores, just like their sons and daughters and grandchildren would watch television sets in public places some 30 years later. Mr. Sayer was principal of the Drewley Business College, which gave the letters DB to our call sign. It's not too clear why Mr. Sayer didn't retain the license. Perhaps he tired of this new medium. Perhaps he discovered that the business college was more fun. Or maybe the wages bill was worrying him. For whatever reason, Mr. Sayer became part of the first media takeover ever. He sold out to the Herald and Weekly Times, and so the real era of 3DB began. The station retained the Drewley Business College call sign, but that was going to be the only thread to remain. But a lot of people back in our early years believed that DB was named after Don Bradman, Australia's greatest ever cricketer. And who could blame them? Because it was the sport of cricket that really put DB on the map. Without benefit of direct broadcast from England, 3DB built a variety show around its two earliest stars, the immortal Charlie Vaughn and Ren Miller. But how did cricket broadcasts survive without commentary? Simple. Everyone had a lot of fun in the studio, and every time a wicket fell, Rickety Kate would do her stuff. Rickety Kate, you ask? She was almost as popular as the two stars themselves. She was a dummy that held her spot on the stage as proudly as any artist who performed. Martha Gardner, wife of the late Dave Worrell, manager of 3DB for nearly 30 years, explains.
The only way in those days that you could get information was by cable. And the journalists working behind in the next room had to translate each cable so as to give them time to translate the cable so as to push it through with a piece of paper to the men who were doing the cricket broadcast. Charlie started this, we don't worry, we don't care, we're not afraid of the big brown bear, and so on. And the whole studio used to burst into song when Rickety Kate's eyes used to light up when there was a wicket, and they'd all start.
Rickety Kate or no Rickety Kate, back in the 30s, not only the test broadcasts, but the entire station seemed to revolve around Ren Miller and Charlie Vaughn. They were the stars of radio long before Jack Davey and Bob Dyer and all the other great names of the industry. These two men realised that radio could be a vital entertainment medium. And boy, could they get through those commercials.
I got an awful fright, he said, upon my wedding day. That was 20 years ago. Today she passed away. I heard that on the wireless, yes. Heard it on the wireless. I heard it on the wireless. A fright for 20 years.
Charles, there's no need for any woman to look a fright these days.
No, thanks to the Pompadour salon, eh?
Yes, Pompadour enables every woman to always look her best. Beauty that's yours at Pompadour's, the home of the Wonder Wave.
The parson's daughter said to her boy, "Let's go and hear Father's sermon today on love one another."
And the boy
said, "No, darling, Let's stay home and practice what Father's preaching.
Well, you can practice economy right away, ladies, by joining the Victorian Housewives Association.
Yes, the VHA is the thrifty way.
Enabling members to purchase at discount prices at many stores. Join now and save those extra shillings. The Victorian Housewives Association is at 11 Flinders Way, City, with a branch at 82 Little Mallock Street, Geelong.
You know, Count Kedgenbite met Mac Frugal, and Mac says, "Now don't bother me any more. Here's something for a cup of tea."
Oh, that was good of Mac.
Yes, he gave him a piece of lump sugar.
And here's something for a good night's rest.
Oh, Raider's bedding.
Exactly. Rainers for perfect bedding made by experts for complete body comfort. Bedrock prices at Rainers, 18 Centre Court, off the Centreway, Collins Street. Phone Rainers F4258.
You know, Snodgrass dined with his nephew's young wife last week, and he was so impressed with her cooking, he sent her a carving set.
And was the young bride pleased?
No. I should say no. He sent her 2 chisels and a mallet. I got an awful fright, he said, upon my wedding day. That was 20 years ago. Today she passed away. I heard that on the wireless, yes. Heard it on the wireless. I heard it on the wireless. A fright for 20 years.
What was their secret of success? Why were Charlie Vaughn and Ren Miller the biggest names on Melbourne radio, both as a team and also as individuals? Martha Gardner.
Ren Miller was so conscientious that he always came in an hour before he was due to read the news, rehearsed it to himself, and worked on it. And then when he read the news with intelligence.
Ren's partner was intelligent too, but in a more earthy fashion.
Charlie Vaughan, I think, was a brilliant brain. An orphan, brought up in an orphanage, a Cockney, with all the Cockney humour, and yet versatility. He could blend music, he could blend words. Quite often he'd stop me on the stairs and say, "Listen, do you think this sounds dirty?" With me say, "How would I know?" But he could immediately fix his mind on a rhyme or a rhythm, and then, of course, the work that those men put into the cricket, which really made radio.
And was to make it for a long time to come. Ren and Charlie probably didn't realise that their historic cricket broadcast would take local radio variety right through to the beginning of the television era in the late 50s. Another of DB's early stars, Maury Callard, who was to become studio manager of the station, as well as on-air personality, has a lot to thank Charlie Vaughan for.
I thank Charlie for many things, but there's one thing that I remember is when they had the audition with Dave Worrell and all of the others sitting in the glass room. I'd never seen a microphone before in my life, I don't think. And I stood up there and I talked away on a timber tract with all the botanical names. Charlie wasn't there. All of a sudden the studio door opened and in he came. He said, "What the so-and-so are you doing that?" And all of the fellows in the room, I can see Dave Worrell to this day, sitting themselves up. And he said, "Do the thing you did last night." And I said, "But I've got no girl to..." He said, "I'll feed you." And that was Charlie Vaughan. He was the quickest thing that I can ever imagine on ad-libbing. He was terrific.
And a lot rubbed off onto Maury Callard. He went on to become an important part of many station successes. And he got to work with his mentor, Charlie.
There was 10 to 7, was always 10 to 7, let's be bright and gay, 10 to 7, smile away, da 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 da, and all that sort of jazz. And Charlie and Ren would be doing it. Well, Ren was on holidays and I was doing it with him, and you were giving the smile away notes. And Reggie Brown was at the piano, and he'd play out when we finished up till 7 o'clock. He'd play at the piano, and I forgot that the microphone, of course, was wide open while Reggie Brown is finishing up. And I had a very itchy tail, and I'm scratching it. And I said, "Oh, God, Charlie, I'm itchy." And look, without a pause, he said, "Well, it's all right, lad, as long as you come up to scratch." And then I realised the microphone was open.
Smile away, a smile and drive dull care away.
Charlie Ward and Ren Miller were to lead DB into the 40s, with their popularity never showing any sign of waning. It took death to break up this wonderful partnership when Charlie Ward died in October 1942. Ren continued with the station until his death 3 years later, in July 1945. Their contribution to the foundation on which 3DB was built was never surpassed. Even those who came later were influenced by one or the other, or both.
Before I joined 3DB, there was a guy called Charlie Ward. And Charlie Ward worked and developed a Smile Away Club, developed the Test cricket broadcasts, which gave 3DB an enormous impetus. And on the carryover from the days of, I never knew him at all, but the guys that worked with him, Maury Callard, Ren Miller particularly, and those personalities gave 3DB a certain style, an entertainment style.
And that there were such opposites. Ren was so calm and so dour and so precise. And Charlie was a froth and a bubble, but with behind it a brain.
That froth and bubble and that brain were inherited by another two gentlemen who took over the mantle left by Charlie and Ren, Dick Cranbourne and John Stewart, who continued the cricket broadcasts into the early 50s. At every English test time, the result was the same. It seemed the whole of Melbourne listened to John and Dick and Rickety Kate. But then inspiration, from which was born Melbourne radio's most popular variety show ever. For this to come to fruition, a young producer called Norm Spencer, who was to go on to quite some fame in television as founder of In Melbourne Tonight, brought a change to the format, which in turn was to turn Melbourne radio completely around.
I made it all completely live, whereas before we'd use recordings and so forth in it as well, but I wouldn't have a bar of that, so we kept it live. The cricket finished and I thought, this is madness. We do this once every 4 years and we get a tremendous rating and everything else. We should start to do this weekly. So I put down a format, went in, sold it to Dave Worrell, but it was to go as an hour show on a Friday night. And I can tell you the date it started was September the 25th, 1953, because the next day I broke my leg playing football. And I tried to run it from a bed. Strange enough, it probably was one of the best things happened because I was listening to it away from being in the studio. And I realised the time wasn't long enough. We were pulling stunts and people didn't have time to get in. So at that stage they were going to take it off. So I got up on the Tuesday and I came to work on the Thursday. And they had to carry me up the stairs at 3DB. And I went in and I talked them into swinging it onto a Monday night and making an hour and a half. And from there on, the rest of the stories, it just went zoom. Rated at 53, which is a fantastic rating.
8:30. And we now cross to our #1 studio where the makers of Robo, Stonyfell and Preservine present The Happy Gang.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, we got fun, we got fun, we got joy. Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, got a rainbow and it's the real McCoy.
Got the whole gang here full of fun. Join in now, get your blues on the run.
Hooray! Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, we've got fun, we've got laughter, we've got joy.
And so Charlie Ward and Ren Miller were gone. And while not forgotten, time moved on. The new show was The Happy Gang, and the new stars, Dick Cranbourne and John Stewart. And soon we talk about their special place in the history of 3DB.